Technically, we've over the last couple of years expanded this organization to encompass a national body. So it's now called European Union Chamber of Commerce of Canada, head office based in Toronto. This is a sort of an umbrella organization that is mainly directed at assisting European chambers that already exist in Toronto or in Canada, let's say. So, I mean, the board of directors consists of one representative of each country's chamber that exists in Canada. So I would be representing the Polish chamber. There's representatives of the German chamber, British, French, Belgian, Swedish, Hungarian. We have pretty much almost the exact number of members as there is in the European Union. I think we're only missing 2 or 3 countries. I think the most important sort of function maybe in the last 3 to 5 years was to develop this European Chamber as a go-to organization regarding what is now in the process of ratification is the free trade agreement between European Union and Canada, which couldn't happen at a better time. I mean, it's supposed to take maybe another year or 2 to ratify it, but it's been a huge mandate, I think, for the current Canadian federal government, and in not just my opinion, I think lots of people's opinion that the Canadian economy has depended on the U.S. trade for so much for the last 100 years, like over 85% of our economy is tied to the U.S. And then suddenly, if they had a problem a few years ago, be dragged down with the ship if there's other alternatives. So I mean, the European Union free trade agreement with Canada will be a big opportunity to sort of maximize, opportunity, stabilize economies in times of rough waters. Canada, I think, is also making a free trade agreement with South Korea and a few other, but the European one would be the biggest. When you join the Polish Chamber of Commerce, our chamber, you automatically are a member of the European Union Chamber of Commerce, which entitles you to be, everybody's in control of their own destiny, but there's lots of networking activities, with specific chambers. The biggest ones usually are the German, the Italian, the British. They've been established for decades. The British might be the oldest chamber in Canada, but they've got lots of major international companies that are members of those chambers. For entrepreneurs or recent graduates that want to get into the workforce, you never know what your opportunity. It's everybody's again in control of their own destiny, but there's chances that you never know where you can find job opportunities or business partners connections and so forth. Polish Chamber in Toronto in the recent 3 or 4 years, there's been a great jump in activity from the Polish side. The Trade Commission of Poland and Canada and the embassy and the consulates have been very proactive in the last few years, and maybe that's because Poland might be entering into a golden age for the first time since 500 years ago, but they didn't suffer during the last recession. They were the only European country that had a GDP above zero when all the other countries were negative. And so just building on that fact, even that was to the western part of the world, or even Western Europe. I think they either didn't recognize that right away. So we're becoming more famous for the right things now instead of political strife and struggle from the past. Maybe it's paying off. But what it looks like now is that Poland, as we know, and probably my colleague Wojtek Śniegowski's talked about, KGHM, KGHM, and Pika and Orlen, these are big Polish companies that are now investing into Canada, and that's probably something we haven't heard about a long time. We don't have internationally recognizable companies from Poland as big as, let's say, Mercedes or BMW or Nestle's or things like that. But this is the beginning of a road in the right direction for all of us. some of the Canadian companies that moved into Poland, well, I'm going back numbers of years, but I mean, they do have a very highly educated labor force there. But I mean, in the aeronautics industry, I know that they're involved in manufacturing some parts or components for the jet airplanes and aeronautical industry. But there's a lot of furniture type of companies that are promoted. I mean, I talked about the mining company and the oil company or the gas company, Orlen. Just for the basic information, the European Union Chamber website will always have links to the other specific countries if you're interested. I mean, each country has its own trade commission. In Canada, they're supposed to assist in those categories. But if with current developments that are still in different processes of progressing, the European Union Chamber of Canada, which I sit on the board and I'm also the vice president, is in the process of developing a stronger presence on behalf of the European Union in Brussels. They are in the process of, let's say, deciding and implementing a program where the European Union Chamber of Canada will become a go-to organization for people who want to do business with the European Union, that want to engage themselves in the benefits of the free trade agreement when it comes into fruition, which hopefully will be in the next 18 months. It's also a window of opportunity for Polish businesses in Canada or vice versa, or let's say anybody's businesses that, technically we already have a free trade agreement with the United States, but there might be an opportunity to link yourself between the United States and Europe. Some people that already know how to do business are already doing business, but I guess if people start to think outside of the box, you have a market in Europe that's 500 million people. That's 200 million more than the United States. And I used to look at this even from let's say from music perspective. There was times when, people would think, well, if I want to be famous, I have to go to the States. And then there was other times where there's people who nobody had a clue who they were. They're not famous in the United States, but they're superstars in Germany, or they're famous in Sweden or something, but they can't get arrested. Nobody will know who they are in the United States. I see this as an opportunity for businesses. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. The U.S. wouldn't let me sell my product into Walmart, but maybe one of the chains in Europe would take your product. Usually, most people that are seeking or already familiar with that field of expanding your business across borders, they usually know to contact trade commissions and so forth. But more specifically, without dealing just with each individual country on one at a time, we represent the whole group of the European Union. We have a website that you can go to that either would keep you posted on events that would, sometimes it involves trade ministers, sometimes it even involves, we've had large events with Minister Fast, for, the Canadian Economic Trade Minister and so forth. But the European Union Chamber of Commerce also has a large event, for example, for Europe Day, which is usually in the middle of May. The website you can go to is eucan.com, euccan.com. It'll also show you the old organization's name that is in the process, which is EUCOCIT, European Union Chamber of Commerce in Toronto. But that's the national site as well. For the Polish Chamber, which again, if you join the Polish Chamber, you automatically become exposed to the benefits of the European Chamber.